There's a strange moment in every trader's life when you look at the charts, the same charts that used to confuse you, and suddenly they don't feel as loud anymore. The chaos begins to whisper. The noise starts to make sense. You don't know exactly when it happened, but something inside you changed. That's the moment most traders never reach. It's not marked by a huge profit or a perfect setup. It's marked by silence. The silence that tells you you're no longer trading like the 93%. You're beginning to think, act, and feel like the 7% who last. I've seen it countless times, traders who chase, panic, and burn out. And then, one day, something clicks. Their trading stops being emotional and starts becoming intentional. Their focus shifts from chasing profits to mastering behavior. That's when you know you're finally crossing over, you're becoming a profitable trader. And that's what we're going to uncover here, 5 subtle signs that reveal you're finally on that path. They won't show up in your bank account first. They'll show up in your mindset, your habits, and the way you respond to the market. The first sign is this. You no longer trade for excitement. You trade for clarity. When I started, I thought trading was about action. I believed the more I did, the faster I'd grow. Every tick of the tape felt like a test, every candle a decision. But I was wrong, because the market doesn't reward activity, it rewards discipline. The moment you stop feeling that constant urge to do something, to buy, to sell, to not miss out, that's when you begin to understand what trading really is. It's not a game of constant motion. It's a game of patience. You start checking charts less often. You no longer stare at every tick. You find yourself at peace, not because the market is calm, but because you are. That's the quiet shift that separates traders who chase from traders who endure. I once said, it was never my thinking that made the big money. It was always my sitting. And that wasn't about laziness, it was about control. Control over your impulses, your fear, your greed. You stop trying to outsmart the market and start learning to wait for it. That's the discipline of sitting still while the rest of the world is panicking for an entry. The second sign you're becoming a profitable trader is that you start to view losses differently. Losses no longer sting the way they used to. They no longer define your identity. You stop taking them personally, because you finally understand a loss isn't failure. It's feedback. Every loss teaches you something about yourself, your system, or your discipline. And that lesson is worth more than any short-term win. In my early years, a single red trade would ruin my day. I'd chase the next one, trying to make it back. But the market doesn't care about your emotions, it only respects your behavior. So I stopped asking, why did I lose? And started asking, did I follow my plan? That's the mindset shift that builds consistency. When your measure of success becomes execution instead of outcome, you become untouchable, because no single trade can break you when your identity isn't tied to results. Every profitable trader I've ever met reached that stage. They stopped trying to be perfect and started trying to be present. That's the key. If you're listening now and noticing that your reactions are calmer, your patience longer, your focus sharper, that's not coincidence. That's evolution. You're beginning to trade with intention, not emotion. The third sign is subtle, but it's powerful. You start to trust your own judgment. Early on, traders jump from one strategy to another. They doubt every decision. They second-guess every setup. But over time, after enough data, reflection, and pain, you begin to hear your own intuition again. Not emotion, intuition. You've seen the market's tricks enough times that you don't fall for them anymore. You start following your own system even when it's boring, even when it's slow, because you've seen the truth. Boring trading is profitable trading. That's how you know you're getting close. When the thrill fades and clarity replaces excitement. When your best trades feel calm, not chaotic. When your peace of mind means more than a quick profit. That's when you're becoming a real trader. Because the truth is, the market tests everyone. It tests your ego, your patience, your identity. And most people fail not because they lack skill, but because they lack control. So, when you find yourself becoming quieter, more disciplined, less reactive, celebrate that. It's a sign of progress most traders never reach. Before we move on to the next part, I want to ask you something. We've built a community of traders who want to grow, who think deeper, and who refuse to give up. So tell us in the comments, what do you love most about these videos? What's the one thing that helps you the most? And what's the biggest struggle you're facing in your trading journey right now? Your answers help shape the lessons we create next. Because this isn't just my story, it's yours too. And if this message speaks to you, if you see yourself in these words, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and check out the other Livermore stories on this channel like The Secret to Mastering Trading Patience and The Psychology of Holding Trades. Those will help you go even deeper into the mindset that's shaping real traders. Because this journey isn't about one lesson or one sign. It's a process, and we're only getting started. You know you're changing when you stop waking up chasing opportunity and start waking up protecting discipline. That's the fourth sign. It's not as exciting as catching a massive breakout, but it's the foundation of everything that lasts. You begin to understand that every trading day doesn't have to be profitable, but every trading day must be productive. Some days you win, some days you wait, some days you simply watch. And on those quiet days, you realize something profound, that waiting is a position too. The amateurs hate silence. They think the market owes them movement. But the professionals, the ones who've endured every storm, know that silence is the sound of opportunity building. They don't force it. They don't chase it. They prepare for it. That's what discipline looks like when it matures, it becomes calm. You no longer argue with the market. You no longer try to control what you can't. You simply respond when it's time and remain still when it's not. I remember the years when I thought discipline meant restriction, stopping myself from trading, holding back my instincts, suffocating my impulses. But real discipline isn't about restriction, it's about alignment. It's when your mind, your system, and your patience begin to move together like one quiet rhythm. That's the kind of discipline that builds longevity. It's not something you learn overnight, it's something you become. You start to notice you're not exhausted anymore. You're no longer emotionally drained after each session. You don't feel the need to check your profit and loss after every trade. You realize that your self-worth isn't swinging with your equity curve. That's when you know you're starting to trade from peace, not pressure. And from that peace comes clarity. That clarity leads to the fifth sign, one of the most subtle but most powerful indicators of all. You start thinking in probabilities, not outcomes. This is the mindset that separates the gambler from the professional. The gambler looks at every trade as a win or lose situation. The professional looks at every trade as just one of many part of a larger series that defines edge, not emotion. When I was younger, I wanted to be right on every position. I wanted to predict the next big move, to call the top, to time the bottom. But over time, I learned that the goal isn't to be right. It's to make good bets, over and over again. The market doesn't reward the ego. It rewards consistency. When you begin to think in terms of probabilities, you stop caring about being right and start focusing on playing right. You follow your plan. You take your setups. You manage your risk. And you trust the math over the moment. You start to say things like, "This trade didn't work, but it was a good trade." That sentence alone defines maturity, because it means your process matters more than your pride. It's funny, people often ask me what separates the professionals from the rest. They expect some secret formula, some hidden indicator, some secret room where smart money hides. But the truth is, the difference isn't external, it's internal. It's the ability to detach from the outcome, to focus on execution, to stay consistent even when results vary. When you think in probabilities, you stop overreacting. You stop cutting your winners short out of fear. You stop adding to losers out of hope. You become a scientist of your own system. You stop gambling with emotion and start operating with logic. That's when trading becomes quiet. You realize that consistency isn't built on intensity, it's built on repetition, doing the right thing over and over, without needing instant proof that it's working. And that's what most traders can't handle, the delay. They crave instant feedback. But the professional accepts the delay between discipline and reward. That's where real profitability grows. If you've reached that stage where you can take a loss and feel calm, where you can let a setup go without frustration, where you can follow your plan even when it feels uncomfortable, then understand this. You're already living in the mindset that most traders never reach. You're not chasing profits anymore, you're becoming the kind of person who can deserve them. Because the truth is, The market pays those who can wait. It pays those who can endure uncertainty without losing composure. It pays those who can follow their edge through boredom, through doubt, through fear. That's mastery. And that mastery doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up as fireworks or fortune. It shows up in silence, in the calm you feel when your trade is running and you're not tempted to touch it, in the patience you hold when nothing's moving and you're not forcing it, in the confidence you build when your plan finally feels like second nature. That's when you know the market has stopped being your opponent and started becoming your mirror. It reflects your discipline, your patience, your maturity. It shows you who you've become and who you still need to be. And once you see that, you'll never trade the same way again. You'll stop looking for the next shortcut and start refining the path you've already chosen. You'll stop comparing your journey to others and start mastering your own rhythm. You'll stop fearing the market and start respecting it. That's when trading stops being chaos and becomes art. And if this video is speaking to you, if it's helping you see trading in a new light, take a second to like this video. Share it with someone who needs it. The next part will take us into the deeper lessons that reveal why these signs appear and what they mean for your long-term success. There comes a stage in every trader's journey when you begin to realize something uncomfortable. You are no longer learning the market. The market is learning you. It studies your habits, your fears, your impatience. It knows when you chase. It knows when you flinch. And when it recognizes that you've stopped reacting, when it senses that your emotions no longer betray you, that's when it finally starts to reward you. That's the invisible shift that defines a profitable trader. The market hasn't changed, you have. You've learned to master what most can't even identify, yourself. And that brings us to one of the rarest signs of all the moment, when you begin to value time more than trades. In the beginning, time feels like your enemy. Every hour you're not in a position feels wasted. Every moment the market moves without you feels like punishment. But the seasoned trader knows time is not your enemy. It's your greatest ally. Profitable traders think in seasons, not seconds. They stop trying to make money every day and start trying to protect their capital every year. They understand that success in trading isn't built from one great move. It's built from surviving 1,000 small mistakes without destruction. You start planning your trades like a craftsman plans his work, slowly, deliberately, with respect for detail. You know exactly what you're looking for, and you're willing to wait as long as it takes. That's not passivity. That's precision. The amateurs think you're lazy when you sit out, but the professionals know sitting out is the trade. That's how you preserve the energy for the moment that truly matters. When I reached that point, I noticed something fascinating. My life outside trading began to change too. I stopped rushing. I stopped forcing outcomes. I started trusting patience in everything, not just markets. Because trading, at its core, is a mirror of character. The discipline you build at the chart reflects in every decision you make off it. You see, becoming a profitable trader isn't about learning strategies. It's about building identity. You're not trying to find signals, you're trying to become the kind of person who can follow them. The charts are the same for everyone. What changes is who's reading them. That's why I've always said, a trader's edge isn't in the market. It's in the mind. You can hand two people the same strategy, the same risk management rules, the same tools. One will grow wealthy, the other will burn out. The difference isn't logic. It's emotional endurance, the ability to stay calm while the world tests you. And if you've reached a point where you can sit through drawdowns without panic, where you can endure boredom without forcing trades, where you can accept uncertainty without frustration, then congratulations. You're beginning to live what most only talk about. You're thinking like a professional. You're becoming someone who doesn't need the market to validate them because you already trust your process. There's another powerful sign, and this one's often overlooked. You start to simplify everything. In the early years, you collect indicators like trophies. You load your charts with signals, moving averages, oscillators, hoping more data means more control. But as you evolve, you begin to strip it all away. You start realizing that the market isn't complicated, your thinking is. You trade fewer setups, you hold longer, you wait for clearer confirmation, and that simplicity feels like freedom. That's the final evolution every trader goes through, from noise to clarity. You begin to understand that less is not only more, less is profitable. When your workspace becomes cleaner, your thoughts follow. Your trading plan becomes sharper. Your rules become non-negotiable. And you finally feel in control, not because you control the market, but because you control yourself within it. That's the real victory. It's not about how much you make. It's about how little you now need to trade recklessly. You've detached from the obsession with more. More trades, more screens, more signals. Now you crave only better. Better setups, better risk, better mindset. That shift from quantity to quality is the mark of every seasoned professional I've ever met. But let me warn you, when you reach this level, complacency becomes the next trap, because comfort can be dangerous. The moment you feel invincible, the market will remind you that you're not. That's why humility must always walk beside mastery. I learned that the hard way. The same confidence that builds fortunes can also destroy them if left unchecked. You must keep questioning, keep journaling, keep learning even when you're winning, especially when you're winning. The greatest traders don't fear losses, they fear arrogance. Because arrogance blinds you faster than any drawdown ever will. So if you've been seeing progress lately, if your charts look cleaner, your decisions calmer, your results steadier, remember, stay humble. Keep your curiosity alive. The market is generous, but only to those who remain students forever. This is why I tell traders success isn't a destination, it's maintenance. It's a lifelong balancing act between confidence and caution. And when you finally find that rhythm, that delicate harmony between boldness and restraint, you begin to feel something few ever experience. Peace. Peace with your process. Peace with your pace. Peace with your journey. That's when you're no longer chasing the market. You're flowing with it. And that flow, that effortless focus, is the signature of every profitable trader. Before we continue to the final part, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what stage are you in right now? Which of these signs have you begun to see in yourself? And what do you still struggle with? Your honesty helps this community grow, because every comment, every story reminds another trader they're not alone. And if this part resonated with you, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. The journey isn't over yet, because in the final part, we'll go deeper into what happens after you become consistent. The quiet challenges that follow success, and how to stay profitable when the world finally starts believing you are. When consistency finally arrives, it doesn't feel the way you expect. It doesn't come with fireworks or wild excitement. It comes quietly, almost unnoticed. You wake up one day and realize you no longer think about making money. You think about protecting discipline. That's when you know you've crossed the invisible line, the line between trader and professional. But here's the part nobody talks about. After consistency comes a new kind of challenge: sustainability. Because staying profitable is harder than becoming profitable. The same patience and humility that built your foundation must now protect it. At this stage, the greatest danger isn't loss, it's comfort. When you start to win regularly, when your confidence grows, that's when the old voice of greed tries to return, whispering, "You've mastered it. You can take more risk now. You can skip the plan just this once." That voice is subtle, but it's deadly. It's the same one that ruins empires and ends careers. Because the moment you stop respecting the market will remind you who's in charge. I've seen traders make millions and lose them in months, not because they forgot how to trade, but because they forgot why they traded the way they did. They abandoned the patience that built their success, chasing the thrill they thought they'd outgrown. And that's where your final test begins. When you can win and still stay humble. When you can grow and still stay grounded. When you can teach others without thinking you've learned everything. That's when you become unstoppable. Because true profitability isn't about the size of your account, it's about the size of your discipline. You begin to see your trading as a reflection of your mind. If your thoughts are chaotic, your results follow. If your thoughts are calm, your results align. And suddenly, every session becomes a form of meditation, not on price, but on patience. This is where trading becomes something bigger than money. It becomes a craft, a mirror, a way of living with awareness. You stop seeing charts as lines and numbers. You start seeing them as behavior, emotion, rhythm. You see panic in red candles, greed in green, fear and the hesitation between them. And in that recognition, you gain a strange power not to control the market, but to control yourself within it. That's what separates the elite from the average. The average trader wants to predict what will happen. The elite trader focuses on how they will respond when it does. That's mastery. You know you've reached it when you start valuing boredom. When the quiet, uneventful days no longer frustrate you, they fulfill you. Because you know boredom is where consistency is built. That's when trading stops feeling like a test and starts feeling like balance. You'll begin to notice that your entire life feels different. You'll stop rushing decisions, stop reacting emotionally, stop craving validation. You'll think slower. You'll feel lighter. Because the same patience that made you a profitable trader will make you a calmer person. That's the hidden gift no one talks about. Trading teaches you more about life than markets. It teaches you detachment, humility, patience, and respect for uncertainty. And when you learn those lessons, you start to live with more intention both inside and outside.